Hello everyone, my name is Wayne.
And I'm Rebecca.
And
we are Your Bourbon Journey. Today we have a pretty special episode for you. I'm sure you've heard about the buff turkey out there, right? What is buff turkey? If you haven't heard about it at this point in time. So back in 2008, 2009, Wild Turkey was going through some renovations at the distillery and they were concerned that they would not be able to keep up with production. So they asked Buffalo Trace, hence the buff, to distill some barrels for them. We don't know exactly how many barrels, probably around 1,000, but we're not sure. They asked them to use their mash bill. However, the grains were the grains normally acquired by Buffalo Trace. And because Wild Turkey didn't want to share their yeast, and understandably, even if they did, Buffalo Trace didn't want their yeast in their still because that might propagate elsewhere and cause other kinds of issues because yeast is a live organism. So they used Buffalo Trace yeast. So combining the Wild Turkey mash bill with the Buffalo Trace grains and yeast produce some interesting spirits, let's say. The distillates were then taken and put into barrels and placed at Wild Turkey to age for anywhere from 14 to 16 years. So what happened next was Wild Turkey started tasting it and they're like, this doesn't taste like Wild Turkey. It's not our flavor profile. So they went with secondary distributors, said we need to unleash these barrels, get them out of our rick houses, and you can sell them on the secondary market. And mostly non-distilling producers pick them up like wildfire. There's a lot of people out there talking about buff turkey. We happen to be fortunate enough to have 2 bottles here in front of us of buff turkey. So we decided to put them together to see how they taste and how similar they are.
I really wish that my dream would be to have a buff turkey for Thanksgiving. I would love to have a turkey the size of a buffalo. With that combined meat, it would be euphoric for me because it's very rich. But anyway, silliness aside, we are going to start with the one on my right, which is your left. So Rebecca, what is this?
All right, here we go. Here's a little spec on that. This is called the Triple Threat. It is a 3-barrel blend of Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey, distilled in Kentucky as buff turkey, and bottled by Dark Arts Whiskey House, LLC in Sparta, Kentucky. Of course, the mash bill is what you know to be Wild Turkey, 75% corn, 13 rye, and 12 malted barley. This one was aged 16 years. Its proof is 122.6. This is a blend of 3 barrels. We have bottle 6 of 132. It was released September of 2025 at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival after their cuvee sold out, which was almost 600 bottles. And we purchased this on September 5th for $299 at Dark Arts Whiskey at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. And I will say we have not tasted this one because during Bourbon in the Air, we tasted the cuvee.
Yeah.
And we did not buy it because the lines were so darn long, even for that night. And I thought, well, we'll get it tomorrow. And they did have almost 600 bottles. But when I got to the line the next morning, I said, oh yeah, we still have it. And it wasn't until I really started researching, I realized, well, it wasn't that. It was something else, this 3X. The cuvee was a blend of 7 barrels, whereas this is a blend of 3 barrels. So we have never tasted this. We spent $300 on a bottle. We've never tasted it.
And at the same time, while she was standing in line, and this goes back to the Silk Velvet story, I was standing there and I'd gotten to this little line to try it, and the guy poured it for me, and I was like, I kind of like it. And he goes, well, we don't have any more. I'm like, oh, okay, and that's why I walked her Silk Velvet.
He must have been still pouring the cuvee.
Yes, and that's where I walked her Silk Velvet. Meanwhile, she's standing in line, and I'm dealing with Silk Velvet, and she's all of a sudden grabbed this bottle, and I'm like, but I was
They were
told
out.
They were out. No, there was another. I'll tell you, real quick, props to Dark Arts because you really went out of your way to market your product. You did an outstanding job, and honestly, we're fans of you guys now. You come into a category of Neely's and other places that we really, really love.
And we've had a visit there, which was great. Sarah poured for us, and we loved everything we were hearing. And Macaulay Minton, you're fabulous.
Oh, yes.
And I love the concept, everything you're doing. But they sold out of the cuvee, which I can't remember the exact number. It was 580 some odd bottles they had. They sold out of that in less than 24 hours. This one was 132 bottles. My understanding is they sold out of this as well. Then they went to 2 single barrel picks that they also sold out of at the Bourbon Festival. Oh, heavens to Betsy. They sold out of a lot of stuff. As I said, we have not tried this, and we are so excited to try it. So
yeah, this is
it's a
funny.
16-year-old, as I said. It's 122.6 proof, and I can't wait to find out what I spent $300 on.
I think of John Madden on Thanksgiving Day with the NFL back when he was alive, and he would drive around the country in his RV, and he would be eating the turducken.
Turducken.
So now here we are with the buff turkey.
The buff turkey. The nose is fabulous.
Okay.
Fabulous.
Cherry.
Which has to come, in my opinion, there's no cherry at Wild Turkey. The cherry has to come from the yeast at Buffalo Trace.
The cherry, there's a brown sugar.
Oh. It's fruity, it's sweet, it's luscious.
Man.
It doesn't smell its proof.
Okay. Don't get deep into the glass because, wow, the alcohol.
I know how to smell.
Well, I guess I don't, but man.
Well, because he sticks his nose in, I just go back and forth. He doesn't do the whole nostril. That's just the way I am. But everybody's different. It's just got a luscious nose. And these legs are so heavy that they're taking forever to drop. They're just like heavy, and they're like, I'm trying to drop, but I weigh so much I can't get down. Look at this. Can you see mine? So I need to taste this.
I would totally agree.
We've had this over a month, and we need to taste this. So cheers to Dark Arts.
Dark Arts.
Buff Turkey. Let's see what this one is. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, the proof comes through on the taste, for sure.
It drinks its proof.
It's got cherry bomb. It's very cherry.
It is cherry. It is brown sugar. It is cinnamon. It is those three.
For me, I always go to dessert when it's something like this, and I'm like got flambéed cherries that are in it in this cinnamon sugar syrup thing, and they poured alcohol over it, lit it up, and it's burning, and it's great, and it's just amazing, and I can't wait to dig in.
See, my wife was in college. She was in a sorority. So she got used to doing these fancy little dinners and things like that. So she got experience with these types of foods.
No, that was with my time in different jobs.
You know, meanwhile, somebody like
sorority
myself.
life doesn't give you that. I'm just saying.
You know, meanwhile, myself, I worked at Denny's and I clean houses for a living. So my idea of a good time is a banquet frozen dinner from the 70s.
I feed you better than that.
She does now. I'm talking about where my mind goes to. This is really good.
Oh my gosh, the nose and the palate are lining up. I love it. If you watch us at all, I love it when the nose and palate align, or when the nose hints to what the palate might be. I want to have some continuity, and this one, the nose got you ready for it, but then the palate is like, Macaulay Minton, this is great. You're blending on these 3 barrels, phenomenal.
This is I don't usually use this term. This is a fun bottle.
Yeah.
I
would say that about Dark Arts in general.
Yes.
They're fun.
Yes. And it is a place we've been to one time. I highly recommend you going there.
They're in Lexington.
They are. We're looking forward to going back. We're not going to go down the rabbit hole with them of what they're doing there. All I will say is this is an up-and-comer in the industry. And they have a business model where they're going to last.
And I'm trying not to drink all this because eventually I want to do a comparison of the two. So I had to stop drinking because it's getting a little low. But the finish is so long, and I'm getting cherry on the finish. My goodness.
Well, one other thing, because I just pushed my glass out, the legs on this are incredible.
Now, let's tell you a little bit about the next one, which is a really fun story for us. I will tell you the story before I tell you about the bottle. We went to Wenzel. I can't remember the first time we went. It was back in the springtime, probably. Wenzel Whiskey in Covington, Kentucky. At that time, they were trying to replicate being a rectifier.
Yeah.
And we did a phenomenal blending experience. We were revisiting the Northern Trail as we do. We go revisit every part of the trail all the time. And it was amazing. We talked to the owners that day. We really wanted to go to the grand opening. We kept following and following when that was going to be, because we got to taste that day a little communion cup of it. And it was so good. And we really wanted to make sure we got back. It was going to be sold that opening day. But it ended up, when it finally came to be, it was on a Wednesday. I think it's when Andy Bashir could be there. We could not get off work in time to get up there and do that. So their other option was to pay for another blending experience, which we have done a bunch of blending experience. Theirs is, bar none, the best one we've ever done. Highly recommend. And that's not what this video is about, but highly recommend their blending experience. But if you did it, you signed up for the golden ticket. Does it sound like Willy Wonka in any way? And then you would get a golden ticket, which meant you were guaranteed one of these Packard proof bottles as long as you got up to Covington before September 30th. So I had the golden ticket. We're planning a trip, and I had all these other business things I had to do in September. We're thinking, we don't know when we're going to get up to Covington. We go to the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and lo and behold, Bill, one of the owners, is there, and he had 6 bottles of this with him. And I said, oh my gosh, I didn't bring my golden ticket with me. He goes, well, you could just buy this one. I'm like, duh. It was a duh moment for me.
And to his credit, what he did, which was very honorable, because he knew we had one of the golden tickets, he sold the bottle to us
at the price
of the golden ticket, which was $25 less than they were selling it there. He called up to confirm, eliminate them off that. I'm selling them the bottle. And so that is why we have this one. And Wenzel, that's another one that I would say with Dark Arts that is an up-and-comer.
And they bought lock, stock, and barrel an entire distillery from Georgia.
Yes.
And it is now operating and doing tours in Covington, the first time in over 100 years that in downtown Covington, Kentucky, right across the river from Cincinnati, by the way, that there is an operating distillery.
Yeah. And
it is phenomenal.
They were also down the block from Revival Vintage Spirits. So if you're going to one, you can go to the other. And I'll be curious in the future. I have a feeling that those two will be partnering with some things.
So let me tell you a little bit about this bottle before we quit fanboying over all this stuff. But because we do love these people. They're fantastic. So let's tell you a little bit about this bottle. So this one is Wenzel's Packard Proof. It is a Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey distilled in Kentucky because it is guaranteed a buff turkey. Again, the same mash bill as Wild Turkeys. It is a 16-year-old. This one's proof is a little hotter than the other one at 126. It was released in August of 2025 at their grand opening. It was a single barrel cask strength. We purchased it on September 4th, 2025 for $275 at Wenzel via the Kentucky Bourbon Festival in Bardstown, Kentucky. If you don't know why it's called Packard Proof, their tasting room and everything is in the old Packard showroom. How cool is that?
And I hope if the owners watch this, and it may have crossed their minds, I hope you guys get a hold of an old Packard, whether it's a shell of a car or what, because the fact that you have what was an iconic car in the day, the fact that you have what was one of the showrooms for the Packard back in the day, man, I hope you get some sort of car there, or somebody that is a collector donates their car to be shown there, because it would just be so cool.
It'd be so cool.
And we've been there.
And it's a beautiful place.
Yes.
So let's pick this puppy up, because except for that little way back in the spring when we had a very small communion cup of this, we have not tasted it because they were not tasting at the festival.
Right. And I remember that tasting because we were with a couple that was from Texas, and we were trying it, and the gentleman that was there, he was really loving it. He goes, there's something in there. And we both at the same time said, cherry.
Oh, yeah.
And he looked at us, he goes, that's it.
I mean, it's like Joan Jett, right? Cherry bomb.
Oh, yeah.
Cherry. We just saw her in concert. Right before we went to Kentucky Bourbon Festival, we saw her and Billy Idol in concert. And when she sang that, I'm thinking, I can't hear Cherry Bomb anymore without thinking about bourbon. How terrible is that? Anyway. Cherry.
The cherry is there.
Cherry. It may be a stronger cherry than the Dark Arts. I'm just saying that probably because it's a single barrel.
Yes, we had a discussion about this whole aspect.
Oh, it's so cherry.
This is so smooth.
And it's a little more proofy. It's barely 122.6 versus 126. Once you get in the 120s, oh, it just
it's
smells
cherry,
so good.
it's cherry and it's brown sugar. It's both.
It is very similar to Dark Arts. I would say the nose, at least, it's very similar but intensified.
It's
not different. It's just intensified.
You can tell that they're related.
Oh my gosh, I can't even wait.
Let's go ahead and try this to the Packard. Cheers.
Cheers. I wish I had bought 2 bottles. Juicy cherries in my mouth.
We really talked about the fact when we were going to review this about doing a blind.
And we didn't.
And we decided not to because of the fact that one is a single barrel versus one is a blend.
3 barrels, yeah.
And I'm really glad.
And we do tend to lean more single barrel in our profile.
Mm-hmm. This, boy.
And this is no knock on Dark Arts. It's just that it has the same flavor profile, but it's just intensified because it's a single barrel. It is so good. I wish we had smell-o-vision and taste-o-vision. I know I say smell-o-vision all the time, but I wish you could taste this. Oh my God.
The cherry is more intense on this than Dark Arts.
Absolutely. And the legs are crazy.
And I just think this gets back to...
Look at this.
Oh,
the legs are crazy.
And I think this gets back to the whole single barrel effect.
Probably for the viscosity too.
It reminds me of that day we were there and we tried it and we made that comment to the guy. This is tasting like it did in that little communion cup, which really surprised me.
But we've got more. And whew, dang. Oh my gosh. I don't even know. This is crazy.
I think this is one of those things. It's very rich. This, to me, is not something you could never do this as a day drinker. If you...
no.
Yeah. It is just, there's a lot there. But this is a bottle, both of them, that you pour for somebody that is a bourbon type.
Yes,
really
that will appreciate what this is.
Because,
and they'll appreciate this as a buff turkey and understand that whole realm of what happened. This is an anomaly. I try to find out how many barrels. There's no strict calculation, but the estimate on AI was 600 to 1,000 barrels. Once those are gone, they're gone. You can get your hands on one of the buff turkeys. I would say do it because there's nothing wrong with either one of these. They're both amazing.
Yes. And I will say this in the case with the Packard. That is the most cherry I have ever had on a bourbon.
My mouth is juicy.
Yeah. It's not even close.
I feel like I need a tissue because I feel like my mouth is salivating so much from this cherry. And the only problem with this, I'm having trouble picking up other notes. So I feel like I got a mouthful of cherries. The finish, just because I haven't had a drink for a bit while we've been chatting about the cherries, is that it's so long. It is just warm, long. It is sweet. Okay, this is 16 years old. I am not getting overthrown by barrel notes.
No.
I am very stunned by that. Aren't you? Especially I expected that on the blend, but on the single barrel, I thought I might be blown away by some barrel notes.
It's funny because
that's not a negative.
We've just done some tastings from some other distilleries. And without getting to that, we've had some lesser proof, lesser aged things that were
barrel notes
that had heavier barrel notes than these.
I'm just not getting it.
I'm really surprised at that. Now, I'm going to go back. Actually, I want to go back to Dark Arts with this.
I just want to go back on this one for a minute. I'm going to do my thing. He giggles at me, but I'm going to do like the whole nose thing.
Well, she can do that. She has 2 good schnozzes.
So Packard smells hotter. And it's only like 3.4 points higher. But they both smell cherry. They both smell sweet. They both smell amazing.
Okay.
Right? They both smell amazing.
Okay, if you had to pick one, which one smells better?
On the nose alone, I would pick Packard.
Okay, on the nose, I would actually pick Dark Arts.
Because it's not as hot?
No, it's picking up a little bit more. But on the taste, I like the Packard more because the cherry is it is unique.
Well, and I hate to pick because I love them both. Love them both.
Yeah, and that once again, when I'm saying that, I'm not saying disrespect, because honestly, I throw either one of these bottles out and I'm reviewing it.
I mean, it's just the difference between a blended
yeah.
and a single barrel. Because I just think if you pick a great single barrel, and I think Wenzel only picked one barrel to buy because they were buying all these other barrels and this entire distillery, lock, stock, and barrel, all their equipment. I think they had 5 trucks come up, semi-tractor trailers come up, and they had to close down a street and come into Kentucky. The story is amazing. But
in the middle of the day.
In the middle of the day.
On a Tuesday.
Yeah, so they couldn't buy a bunch of barrels. Dark Arts was fortunate to be able to buy a whole lot of barrels. What we've calculated is they bought probably at least 11 barrels we're aware of. Mm-hmm. They may have bought more, but we've calculated based on the internet. They had 7 in the cuvee, and they had 3 in this one, and then they had 2 single barrels. They sold it. This is all what happened at Kentucky Bourbon Festival. So they could have had more, but they had at least 11 barrels.
And supposedly they sold out.
Yeah.
So if you do the math, if you're going to talk about from a monetary standpoint, they may have won.
They're just brilliant.
Yeah.
And I love their bottle. I love their cap. We've been there. We appreciate them a lot. Mm-hmm. So I've done the nose comparison. I'm not going to say who wins, but they are so similar, it's ridiculous. So yeah, you know it's buff turkey. And now I could go into any bar, any place selling something, and I would say, yeah, buff turkey, not buff turkey. Because I feel like I know the profile of buff turkey. Mm.
And if
which is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, and if you have an opportunity, and there's a lot of them out there, I think when we were at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival for the week, 2XO had one for sale at Evergreen Liquor. They won almost $500 for theirs.
It was $4.99.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And their single barrels that they sold at Kentucky Bourbon were $3.99. So this one they were selling for $2.99.
Right.
So single barrels have been going for a lot more. We've heard that Augusta had some, and we've heard that not Louisville whiskey, but someone that uses their space had one.
And
obviously they all went out to non-distilling producers. So people that, non-distilling producers at this point in time are looking for great barrels to either blend or bottle as their own. Maybe they finish them a little bit differently or do something extra for aging, but find those buff turkeys out there. You need to go on a hunt.
I think it's a fun little bottle. It's one that you should have on the shelf because it is very unique and it's never going to happen again.
And I feel very blessed to have 2 of them.
And for us, it's really cool because we really like both places.
We do. And
so to have 2 that we really like from 2 places that we really like is
win-win.
It's a win-win. So I'm going to raise my glass. Well, actually, I'm going to raise both. In this case, to Dark Arts here and to Wenzel in Covington. Cheers to both of you because this is outstanding. And you both, I believe, are up-and-comers in the bourbon industry. Keep doing what you're doing and you're going to find a lot of success. If you like what we do, hit the subscribe button. Always remember to drink responsibly. Today, drink Dark Arts and drink the Packard.
And find some buff turkey.
Cheers.
Cheers.